And I think that there's you can do these conversations by degree. Context is important. Nuance is important, which is why we're excited to have smart guests like Louis Riddick joining us on the radio show for the first time. Louis, thank you so much for stopping by. The city of Nashville is obviously incredibly excited about Cam Ward, and you have been one of his most staunch supporters the entire way through the pre-draft process and as things continue into his very, very young NFL career. At what point did you think Cam was going to be the kind of special that you are now comfortable comparing him in certain terms, to somebody like Patrick Mahomes?
Yeah. Well, I know there's a lot of people who kind of like started to absolutely lose their you-know-what over that comparison. And see, I don't know why people get so uncomfortable with comparisons, especially when you give them good context, which I did, which is, look, Cam plays from a you still there? Are we still on?
Oh yeah, I got you.
Okay, I'm just making sure. I couldn't tell my computer was doing something weird here.
You're good.
Yeah, no, we I think from a stylistic standpoint, Cam has a lot of things that look very similar to the way Patrick likes to play the game. Patrick always described it as being like he's playing baseball, like he's just throwing the ball to first base, and that's why his feet sometimes are parallel. The ball sometimes comes out sidearm, three-quarter sidearm. It's a little unorthodox as far as how quarterback traditionally was played. Well, Cam Ward does the same thing. He can do the same types of things. He has very similar arm horsepower to Patrick. He just does. I've seen it up close in person, both of them, so I know. So I'm speaking from experience. When did I start feeling as though he had special qualities? I think it was I saw him in Pullman 2 years ago against Wisconsin early in the season. Then I got to see him play twice just this past year, and got to go down to his pro day too, and got to know Mario Cristobal and Shannon Dawson, his offensive coordinator, and they really walked me through the transition that he went through when he transferred from Washington State down to Coral Gables, and how from day one he just kind of took over. Now, I saw that and heard about that when I was up at Washington State, but he took it to a whole new level as far as his leadership, which is really the special sauce with him, which is really the special sauce with all these quarterbacks who are in the upper tier. It's not just their own individual talent. It's the way in which they raise the level of everyone else because of how good they are and what they demand. And they don't ask people to do anything that they're not willing to commit themselves to doing as far as committing to the process. And that's what Cam's all about. You heard his parting words when I guess he left OTAs about what he said he was going to do.
I was there. Yeah.
I mean, that's perfect. And that's how he was at Miami. And that's why he had one of the great seasons in Miami history as far as throwing the football. And that's why he raised the level of all the offensive players around him. Had Miami had anything close to resembling a competent defense, Miami would have been in the playoff picture and maybe in the national title hunt because of the way they could move the ball offensively, primarily because of Cam. He's exactly what Tennessee needs. That's the kind of personality at that position that Tennessee needs. That's the kind of skill set that Tennessee needs to take that offense and really level it up. He comes from a great family, super supportive people, super nice people, and he is just uniquely zeroed in on trying to be the best damn quarterback he can be. And that's it. That's all he cares about. Why wouldn't everybody in Tennessee go and put their arms around him and go, just lead us, man. We're going to ride your coattails. That's exactly what you want, and he's built for it. He's just simply built for it. I'm as convicted on this young man in terms of his makeup as any, whether it was Jaden Daniels last year or C.J. Stroud the year before. I'm very much so Team Cam Ward.
Well, Louis, and I'm so glad that you articulated it that way. By the way, Louis Riddick, ESPN, here with us on 104.5 The Zone. Of course, you can see him across their various platforms at any given point, whether it's Get Up, NFL Live, or all the other great broadcasts that he's doing, as well as college football broadcasts throughout the course of the season. Because I'm sure you've heard the Kevin O'Connell clip from last offseason where he's talking about the rate of quarterback churn and burn, right? He's talking about the organizations that fail these players far more often than the players themselves fail. Because I am 100% in agreement with you, Louis, based on all the different stories that we hear from people who we've talked to on the show and done research on at Miami, Wazoo, and even Incarnate Word, and just seeing the way that his teammates have interacted with him during the course of the Titans offseason program, all these different things. And yet, the organization itself, I think, is still quite suspect in the way that they are trying to build around them. I think Mike Borgonzi is a very serious football personnel man. I think Brian Callahan is a very serious football coach. But we have seen several instances of these things across the board go sideways. And I wonder how you feel about the landing spot for him beyond him being built for this.
Yeah. Well, I think you touched on two important points. Well, really one in particular. Look, Mike knows, in particular, that being Borgonzi, where he just came from, the amount of time he spent there with Andy and Brett Reed and Brett Veach, and why Patrick was as successful as he was, going beyond his own physical skills and his mental makeup, and how to go about trying to foster that kind of environment for the guy, for a quarterback, so he can then just take off and become all he can be. I mean, there isn't much more that you can really get in terms of a GM who has seen the development arc of right now who is considered to be the most talented quarterback maybe we've seen in the past 7, 8, 9 years, 10 years. So if they just let him execute what his vision is in terms of, I'm trying to copy and put together and follow the same kind of blueprint that Brett and Andy followed in Kansas City, then they have a chance. Because you're right, and I've been talking about this since, when we got into TV back in 2013 at ESPN, about the fact that the development and utilization phase of player development, if you're talking about, scouting and information gathering, and then valuation and selection, and then development and implementation. Those are the three tripods of team building. Development and utilization. That's the most important phase. Because, look, all scouts obviously think that they can scout better than the next guy and they can see shit that other guys can't, blah, blah, blah. It's not true. What's really true is, and how you can really get a competitive advantage, is when you get them under your roof. Now, what are you doing? And so you're right. Some organizations have a history of screwing it up. Churning over coaches, churning over play callers, churning through players, owners getting involved, team presidents getting involved, team president's wife gets involved, the man on the street gets involved, everyone's listening to everyone's opinion, and next thing you know, you don't have a philosophical direction. In Tennessee, it's the greatest team sport in the world, right? It's the most popular sport, obviously, in our country by far, and everyone's so invested. There's so much information, and everyone has access to all this behind the scenes information. And what happens is there's so many people who have so many things to say that sometimes the people who are in charge become so distracted and listen to so much crap that they forget why they were put in that spot in the first place, which is 9 times out of 10, because they're competent and they know how to get, what it takes to get there. If you just let a guy like Mike Borgonzi do what he's capable of doing, what he has seen done when he was in Kansas City, you have a chance. Protect the quarterback. Build a solid wall. Make sure it's a complementary offense. Make sure he has weapons. Make sure you have a solid defense and a coach who understands the field position and putting your quarterback in advantageous spots. Make sure you have a great quarterback coach who can be the go-between between your quarterback and the play caller, because that's the guy who settles it all down, who can really kind of decipher all the information in real time during the game. You saw, speaking of Kevin O'Connell, how many times did we see clips of Sam Darnold last year talking with Josh McCown?
Right.
And Josh is the one who's really taking the information from Kevin and saying, look, this is what I need you to do. This is what we need you to do. Not that Kevin can't, but it's all part of it. It's all part of getting that one dude at the command and control center to be able to process all that information and then throw the football when he's getting hit upside the head by some of the fiercest athletes on earth. There's so many things, man. There's so many things that go into it. Just let the people do what they do who have been hired in these specific spots, and then let the chips fall where they may. Just stop turning stuff over and listening to what Adam Schefter says or the late, great Chris Mortensen. I remember people used to call these guys all the time, and I'd hear them. There'd be owners, GMs, all kinds of stuff asking, what do you think of this guy? What do you think of this guy? It's like, they're reporters. I mean, they're my boys and they're my guys, and I love them to death, and they're competent as hell, the best of the profession, but they're not there all the time. They don't know. Like, just let the people, just trust your ability to hire great people and then let them go and then let them build some consistency so you give chances to guys like Cam Ward as far as him becoming everything that he can become. There's no secret. There's no secret as to why a guy like Patrick becomes what he becomes. Why Josh Allen has become what he's become in Buffalo. Why, look, even Joe Burrow is uniquely talented, but he's had some levels of consistency around him, especially when you're talking about the offensive side of the ball and the people who are in his ear. Okay, there's been some consistency there. There's a reason why. Like, even, like, and just go on down the list. Look at Lamar Jackson. I just heard some people talking about Lamar Jackson on the radio earlier today when Lamar was potentially going to be a free agent. And all the teams who were like, we're not interested. We're not interested. We're not interested. And then he winds up re-signing in Baltimore. And what does he do? He just wins a couple MVP. It's like there's a reason why he was able to continually ascend, because John Harbaugh had a great plan for him, continued to tweak it. Obviously, he brings in Todd Monken to kind of take it to a whole nother level because he believed that Lamar needed a little bit more to really become all that he's become. And right now, I mean, hell, Lamar is unstoppable. There's just watch what these organizations do, and they all have certain things that are all very similar from one to the other, and why it leads to the success that their quarterbacks have had.
So when you look at the key ingredients, Louis, on the field in a quarterback's rookie year, what are some of the baseline things that you find are common with quarterbacks that have success in their rookie season, whether it's a reliable safety blanket? We understand offensive line play is a bare minimum that Caleb Williams didn't have last year, that Jaden Daniels had more of, but trying to consider what the Titans have to put Cam in that position to succeed right out of the gates. What's 1A and 1B and what you absolutely have to have for that to be the case?
Yeah, I mean, you touched on it. Look, number one, you have to have, at the very least, competent offensive line play and an ability to be somewhat situationally balanced to where you're literally just not overloading the kid and relying on his ability to throw the football, especially behind a leaky offensive line, where he doesn't have time to get comfortable with not only what he's supposed to do as far as his own offense is concerned, meaning pre-snap checks, ball snapped, my eyes come down, like especially if I'm in the gun, eyes go up and everything, all of a sudden the whole picture has changed. Now I'm starting to, I need to remember where the guys are supposed to be, and I'm trying to decipher what's going on with the offense. So you've got to have, at the very least, competent O-line play, a guy he can turn around and hand the ball off to, take some pressure off of him, and offense. So look, competent offensive line play, at the very least, competent weaponry, and really I'll just go in three. A play caller / quarterback coach who can really distill the information down to where it is digestible and usable for him. And they know exactly what they need to go to and when they need to go to it to keep him comfortable and keep him on track and keep him playing on time. It cannot just go helter-skelter on him, meaning I'm getting my ass knocked off, I'm getting no protection, we are constantly behind the chain so I can't run the ball, and you are just picking plays like we're picking plays off of a menu, at a late night 24-hour restaurant after being out drinking all night. Well, it can't be like that. And you've seen that happen to guys. And then all of a sudden what happens is it just then usually what happens after that is there's churn, the head coach gets fired, the team gets rebuilt, the kid's learning a whole new offense, and hopefully, they can break out of that cycle at some point in time, because if you're constantly caught in that kind of tornado, you have no shot. So stability, offensive line play, some competent weaponry, and most importantly, a coach who understands what it means and what it takes to keep the kid on time in terms of playing on time. And that, I'll tell you, think about what happened with Caleb. Think about what happened with Bryce in his first year. Those are the kind of things that basically killed those guys in their first years. Then it started to click, for Bryce in year two. after being sat down. Think about it with Caleb last year. Offensive line play, not great. Weaponry, pretty decent on the perimeter. Play calling, sometimes if you turned on Chicago tape last year, you'd be like, the first down play doesn't really marry up with the second down play, and the third down play when it's 3rd and 20. Good luck, trying to find a good call for that play, for that down and distance anyway. And so then he's just trying to make crap happen, and then he's just running around. His eyes are all over the place.
Yeah.
He's never playing on time, and it all just spirals downhill. Hopefully Ben Johnson can get that squared away this year. I'm sure Brian Callahan understands and knows those are the kind of things we have to avoid for Cam in Tennessee, and they will do everything in their power to make sure that they do avoid that. And Mike Bergonzi knows that that's the kind of thing that they avoided in Kansas City for Patrick, and that's why he was able to, in year one, come out ablazing with 50 touchdowns.
Louis Riddick of ESPN is here with us, breaking down Cam Ward and the fit with the Titans on 104.5 The Zone. Of course, you can catch him across ESPN's platforms. He's also one of the most recent inductees to the National High School Football Hall of Fame class of 2025. Congratulations on that, Louis. Quickly, before we let you go, and we do appreciate your time this morning, the AFC South is such a science experiment of a division with so many interesting pieces and parts, whether it be a rookie, a veteran that's been in the division, or a free agent acquisition that's recently come to the AFC South. Is there one player that stands out to you as the most interesting player in this division this year?
I think the most interesting to me, because of this whole phenomenon when you're talking about, second year slump, when you're talking about quarterbacks in particular, the most interesting is CJ for me, because he was Stroud, because when he came out in the draft, many people thought that Bryce was head and shoulders the number 1 overall pick in that year, and that CJ was just a beneficiary of playing at Ohio State, maybe playing a schedule that didn't always test him like SEC schedules tested Bryce, and that he wouldn't be able to flourish in the NFL like he did in his rookie season, which had one of the best rookie seasons you've ever seen. And then he has to step back because there's a lot of other extenuating circumstances that have nothing to do with him. It's very interesting to me. It'll be interesting to me to see how he responds this year and how D'Amico handles him this year and what that offense looks like going forward. I think that's an interesting one. Look, obviously, Anthony Richardson in Indianapolis and what's going on with that whole quarterback situation and what's going on with that organization overall. But starting with the quarterback there, I mean, Anthony seems to be already at a crossroads and in his young career, which is just amazing to me. It's amazing. We know what he's going to continue to have to fight to really dispel that notion that he's a quitter because of what happened, down there in Houston, as a matter of fact. And so that's just something that I'm keeping my eye on too. Hopefully he can get that shoulder right and he can be healthy, at some point this year to where he can really, take hold of that spot. And Shane Steichen, the head coach there in Indy, can get him going and get him playing consistently. Because I'd hate to see a kid like that have his talent just basically be something that we all just kind of quickly forget because he just was never able to put it all together. So those are probably 2 for me. In the South. We'll see how it all plays out.
Well, Louis, thank you again so much for the time. Really enjoy your work and not just blowing smoke. You're very thoughtful and obviously passionate about what it is that you do, and that carries through in every broadcast. And so I know Titans fans have enjoyed listening to you stand for Cam Ward on the front end, and I know they've enjoyed this interview today. So be well, and hopefully we'll catch up again soon.
You got it. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
That's Louis Riddick of ESPN with us on 104.5 The Zone. All right, we got to go to break because I went way over there, but Louis's stuff was good.